Hello everyone. I am Olalla García, and I am an industrial engineer. I have been working as a project manager in the railway sector for 15 years. Today, I would like to explore a question that I believe is becoming increasingly important for organizations and for the future of PMOs themselves. Which is why do some PMOs remain strategically relevant over time while others gradually lose visibility, influence, or even disappear? Traditionally, PMOs have been associated with governance, reporting, standardization, and delivery coordination. But organizations today are evolving rapidly. We are seeing increasing complexity, technology adoption, continuous transformation, and growing pressure to demonstrate value. In this context, the PMO cannot remain static while the organization changes around it. This session is therefore not only about innovation tools or methodologies, it is really about how PMOs evolve, adapt, and sustain relevance over time. So I already introduced myself at the beginning, but I wanted to mention that you can feel free to connect with me in LinkedIn. You can scan the QR code on the top right corner of this slide, and yeah, feel free to connect. I will be happy to be in your network. One of the main reasons I believe this discussion matters today is because PMOs are under increasing pressure to justify their value. Many organizations are asking difficult questions, such as what strategic value does the PMO really generate? How adaptive is the PMO? Is the PMO helping transformation or simply administrating it? And at the same time, many PMOs are becoming operationally overloaded. They spend enormous amount of time on reporting, governance, process, delivery coordination, and administrative activities. And the consequence is that innovation often becomes secondary. Across many APMO assessments and maturity discussions, innovation repeatedly appears as one of the weakest PMO domains globally. Not because PMOs do not want to innovate, but because many PMOs operate in environments that prioritize short-term delivery over experimentation and redesign. So in order to avoid that PMOs become irrelevant, they need to move beyond being perceived only as control or reporting entities. PMOs have the potential to become adaptive, learning, a value-generating system inside of organizations, it is believed. And that requires innovation. What it is shown in the image is the Kano model, which essentially indicates that services which initially create excitement and differentiation eventually become expected. The same thing can happen with PMOs. When PMOs first introduce governance frameworks, portfolio visibility, reporting systems, or coordination structures, organizations often perceived significant value. But over time, those services become normalized. They stop being perceived as strategic contributions and start being treated as basic expectations or administrative necessities. And this creates a very important problem because the PMO may still be working extremely hard, but the organization no longer perceives increasing value. And honestly, this is why we believe that innovation is a key part in this puzzle. So if PMOs rely only on historical services, eventually those services become commoditized. So PMOs, therefore, need to continuously evolve their services, their operation models, their contribution, and even the way they generate organizational value. Now, if innovation is so important, the next logical question would be, why do PMOs struggle to innovate? One reason is that PMOs operate under a constant structural tension, because on one side, PMOs are expected to standardize, to control, to govern, to stabilize, and to report. But on the other side, innovation requires experimentation, flexibility, redesign, adaptation, and also learning. And those two logics often compete internally in organizations. Additionally, many PMOs face operational overload, limited capacity, governance pressure, resource constraints, and strong delivery expectations, right? So the term that I love to say is that PMOs lack, which is usually used to describe the PMO time and capacity for innovation, partnering for learning and experimenting. And it is something many PMOs lack, unfortunately. So as you can imagine, innovation requires slack. It requires time, thinking capacity, space for experimentation, cross-cultural interaction, and learning opportunities. But the reality is that many PMOs are operating permanently at full capacity. And when an organization consumes all the PMO's energy through operational activity, there is little room left for innovation. So PMOs end up trapped in maintenance mode rather than evolution mode. Let's call it that way. So one important matter to highlight is that not all PMOs require the same level of innovation. So different PMO types create value differently. For example, delivery-oriented PMOs often justify their existence, through direct operational contribution. This is supporting execution, coordinating projects, or improving delivery consistency, because their value is more visible operationally. Their survival, let's call it, pressure might be lower. But on the other hand, non-delivery PMOs are different. They are strategic PMOs, centers of excellence, and transformational PMOs often operate further away from day-to-day execution. This means that they cannot rely only on operational necessity to justify their existence or their value in the organization. They must continuously demonstrate relevance through innovation, integration, strategic contributions, organization learning, or even adaptability. In fact, the further a PMO moves away from direct delivery accountability, the more important innovation becomes on its long-term survival. This is why some PMOs survive through operational necessity, while others survive only if they are continuously evolving. So traditionally, PMOs are often analyzed individually. Okay, we talk about PMO maturity, PMO capability, PMO performance, and also their effectiveness, as if PMOs operated independently. But many organizations today have multiple PMOs operating simultaneously, and this creates a much more interconnected environment, which leads to a very important topic, which is PMO survival might not only depend on the PMO itself, it might depend on the coherence of the broader operating model. For example, are PMOs aligned in our organization? Do they collaborate effectively? Are governance structures integrated? Are responsibilities coherent across the system? So in other words, PMO survival may actually be a system property rather than an individual PMO property for some organizations. And this shifts the conversation from isolated PMOs towards PMO ecosystems. And it is believed that it's one of the areas where organizations still have some gaps today and some potential for improvement. One of the most interesting paradoxes in organizations is that PMOs already observes enormous amount of strategic information. PMOs see project failures, project progress, resource conflicts, new initiatives, bottlenecks, or even transformation resistance. And in many cases, PMOs can detect systemic problems earlier than other functions because they sit at the intersection of strategy, governance, delivery, and execution. So the questions that pops up that becomes relevant here is, why are PMOs rarely treated as organizational innovation intelligence systems, right? Why is all this organizational visibility not systematically connected into innovation and adaptation? And the information is already there, right? The challenge, we believe, is transforming this visibility into organizational learning and innovation. The word innovation, many immediately think about AI. And of course, AI will have a major impact on PMOs, or is having a major impact in some PMOs. But I believe that PMO innovation is much broader than just technology, than technology alone. So I believe that, innovation can happen structurally, for example, through redesigning operating models or governance systems. It also can happen operationally, through redesigning services or simplifying workflows, or decision-making processes. It also can happen strategically through, new portfolio approaches or adaptive prioritization systems. It can also happen relationally through collaborative PMO ecosystems and a stronger business integration. And also, as mentioned, it can happen technologically, right? Through automation, predictive analysis, and with AI, right? With AI-enabled PMOs. But the important point or key point is that innovation is not simply about introducing new tools in the organization or in the PMO. It is about redesigning how PMOs create value for the organization. One of the biggest challenges with PMO innovation is that many organizations do not formally measure it, and organizations tend to prioritize what they measure, right? So most PMOs already measure compliance, delivery performance, governance, adherence, reporting quality, schedule performance, etc. But very few PMOs systematically measure innovation contribution, service evolution, organizational learning, adaptability, or experimentation capability. So across many PMOs assessments globally, as you can see in the image, innovation capability consistently appears weaker than operational governance capability. Sorry. So this is interesting because this creates a problem, right? A challenge. If innovation is absent from measurement systems, innovation will become optional, right? And operational activity always wins against innovational activity, right? If this is the case. So one important future direction might be taking PMO innovation measurable, benchmarked, and also strategically visible to try to boost it within the organization. Yeah, and I would like to briefly connect this discussion to my ongoing PhD research. Right now, I am a PhD student, and basically, the research focuses on PMO innovation, as you could have imagined, PMO survival, and the structural coherence and operation model design. And one of the central questions is what actually determines long-term PMO survival and how it is related with innovation. Currently, I am exploring two competing theoretical perspectives. The first one is innovation capability theory, which this one suggests that PMO survives because they continuously evolve and innovate. And the second theory is the structural coherent theory, which suggests that PMO survives because they are coherently integrated into organizational systems and operating models. And the reality might ultimately involve both dimensions interacting together. And basically, the goal of this research is not only academic, it's also practical. So the intention is to help organizations better understand how PMOs can sustain relevance, adaptability, and long-term value creation in increasingly complex environments like the one that we are right now living in. And I will be reaching out to professionals in the field by asking for support to provide insights in different surveys about this matter. So I would really appreciate your help in this matter. And yeah, this is just to say that if you consider that your PMO has conducted any innovation or something new that is relevant to mention or that you are proud of, I would like to encourage you to send it to us through the website so that it can get the recognition it deserves. Okay. And well, some of you may know that before this session, we shared in our social media a survey in order to try to quickly evaluate the innovation in PMOs. And thank you very much for all of you that answered the survey and you took the time for it. And today I wanted to share a little bit some key insights that we gathered from this survey. And basically, it is interesting because some of the majority of the responses indicated that PMOs are generally perceived as moderately innovative. So that is interesting. And also that the main barriers to innovation in the organizations of the people that answered the survey were governance constraints, lack lack of time or slack, and leadership resistance. Also, we could see a structural alignment and coordination between PMOs appears linked to perceive effectiveness and adaptability. So that is another insight that we got from the answers. And also that, well, as we already indicated in the previous slides, that many organizations still do not formally measure PMO innovation capability, so or innovation impact, right? So that is a key insight as well, that is not measured. And the last one is that the majority of the respondents indicated that PMO survival may depend not only on operational efficiency, but also on adaptability and system level integration. So this is related to the dual scenario that we were discussing at the beginning, that sometimes organizations or PMOs will have to find a balance between operational efficiency and also adaptability to provide value and to be competitive, or to continue their life, their survival over time, let's call it that way. And after hearing these results, we were able to start identifying broader patterns across organizations, right? Because PMO innovation challenges are rarely isolated to one company only or to one industry. So across organizations, usually similar themes or trends do emerge. For example, operational overload, governance complexity, lack of innovation capacity, and unclear PMO positioning. And at the same time, we also begin to see common enablers for innovation, like leadership support, cross-functional collaboration, or, for example, strategic sponsorship. So one important key reflection I would like to mention is how do organizations sustain innovation, right? Because in many cases, PMOs may have talented people and good ideas, but they still struggle to innovate due to how the organization structurally positions them, right? And another important goal in this session is not only discussion about PMO and innovation, which is very important, don't get me wrong, but also it's about, I believe, collaboration. And PMO innovation is still an emerging field, and there is enormous value in organizations sharing experiences or lessons learned, and also evolving practices that they are taking in place, or they are taking into consideration. So I would like to invite everyone to contribute, participating in beyond this session, right? There are several ways to contribute. First, by sharing innovation samples or cases. If you believe that in your organization you have done something relevant that is new, it doesn't have to be maybe state of the art, but is new within your organization, is what we discussed at the beginning, that maybe is new in the environment or in your sector, in the environment of your organization or in your sector, then is worthwhile sharing it so that others can benefit from that learning experience, and maybe to implement new things or new strategies in their PMOs, in their companies. Also, another way, as my colleague in the previous presentation mentioned, is very valuable to participate in some kind of PMO assessment. I have PMO as an example here, but this will allow you to know where you are in your PMO and identify ways to improve your PMO. Also supporting research initiatives. I have to mention this because I am a PhD student, so I think that is really valuable because it helps knowledge evolved and also the PMO community evolution, and also collaborating globally. And you are already collaborating by participating in this event. So join the community and feel free to share any insights that you may think that are relevant for your PMOs or for you. And the reality is that organizations are, facing increasingly similar challenges than the ones that you are facing: complexity, uncertainty, continuous transformation, and growing pressure for adaptability. So PMOs therefore have a major opportunity to evolve from governance-focused entities into organizational learning and innovation systems. But that evolution becomes much stronger when organizations learn collectively rather than individually. So I encourage you to participate and collaborate with others. And I would like to finish with one final reflection. For many years, PMOs were primarily associated with administration, reporting, and governance control. And while those capabilities remain important, I really do not believe they are sufficient anymore on their own. And organizations today need PMOs that can adapt, integrate, learn, innovate, and continuously redesign how value is created. Because ultimately, PMO survival may not depend only on efficiency. It may depend on adaptability. So PMOs can only administer. PMOs that only administer may survive temporarily because of organizations that still require coordination and governance, but PMOs that continuously evolve, innovate, and integrate into organizational decision systems are much more likely to sustain long-term strategic value. And that is all from my side. I would be happy to discuss any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Olaya. We do have one question from the audience, and it's quite an interesting one. How does PMO innovation relate to PMO improvement?
Yeah, I think this is a very good point. I think that they are tied to one another because at the end, sometimes in order to innovate, you have to improve, right? You have to improve your PMO. So I think that they are both tied. I would say that innovation is more is very related. I agree with that. The only thing is that sometimes one improvement that you may perform in your PMO maybe is not seen as innovative in another type of PMO or another type of sector. So improvement is also good. It's always good. Sorry, is more iterative and building from what you have had in the past. And innovation takes some of that, but also takes the portion of creating ideas that also come out of the box sometimes. So I think that they are very tight. But is to try to find this differentiation, this improvement within the PMO. Totally agree with that question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you again for this valuable session. This topic of PMO innovation is indeed an important one today, and I'm sure the discussion helped the audience better understand how PMOs can create PMO value and support organizational success. And thank you, Olaya. We look forward to having you again soon.
Thank you very much.